So, you want to go study abroad. If studying abroad is the decision that you've been looking to make, and now you're ready to make it happen, then you've come to the right place. First of all, you have to decide where you want to go. This can be really stressful because you have to keep in mind the language barriers, the programs, and everything in between. The next step that you're going to want to take is logging into MyFinley and looking at your degree audit. Also, once you find a school that seems interesting to you, you're going to want to look through their course catalog and see what kind of courses are interested. The important part of this step is to find courses that will transfer back and be as closely related to the courses in your own major as possible. You can get help on this in the basement of Old Main in the registrar's office. The next thing that you're going to want to do is wait. Now you have to play the waiting game to see if you've been accepted to the program that you've put all of these hours into applying for. One day when I was just sitting in the dining hall, I opened up my email and I got the email that I was waiting for. I had been accepted. This trip was going to happen. I got accepted to a program at the International College of Management, Sydney in Manly, Australia on November 23rd, 2016. It was one of the most surreal and cool feelings that I've ever experienced in my entire life. The next thing that I had to do was find the flights that I was going to take to Australia and from Australia. The travel company that I got to work with was called ISA, and they were an incredible help in the journey of getting me to go to Australia. The flights to Australia were 17 and a half hours long, and the flights back from Australia were 14 and a half hours long. I flew all the way across the world alone, not knowing what might happen next. And early in the morning on February 4th, 2017, I landed in Brisbane, Australia. Here's the first selfie that I took when I landed at the airport. After I got to Brisbane, I met up with all of the American students that I'd be studying with, and we took a 2-hour bus trip north to Byron Bay, Australia. It was a strange city, to say the least. And here's a video of a silent disco that we happened to walk upon. The next flight that I took was into Sydney. That was where the school that I was studying at was located. And it was just a 30 or so minute bus ride away from the airport. But then we hit traffic, and Sydney traffic is world famous. So that ended up being about an hour and a half. The school that I studied at was called the International College of Management, Sydney, or ICMS for short. And this school has actually been pretty well known around the world. The movie The Great Gatsby was actually filmed there, and the huge party scene from the very beginning of the movie took place in the main corridor of this school. And also, country star Keith Urban married Nicole Kidman here in this chapel on campus that I got to go in multiple times. During my time in Australia and in Sydney, I got to explore pretty much all of the city of Sydney, Bondi Beach, which is also world famous, and I also got to spend a whole weekend in Melbourne. Since I'm pursuing a career in sports, I had to make it to some professional sporting events while I was in Australia. I made it to 3 professional rugby matches and a professional soccer game, and that soccer team, Sydney FC, happens to be my favorite team in the world, and I got to witness them win the entire championship when I was there. To recap my trip, here are some of the fun facts again. I traveled 17 and a half hours from Los Angeles to Brisbane alone, over and pretty close to 10,000 miles alone. And I experienced some things that changed my life forever. And if you decide to go to study abroad, you just may experience these things and change your life forever as well.